get this started. So Mona and Ankitha, first of all, thank you for joining us. It's one of my favorite customer stories. I know this one well at this point, and it's a pretty amazing story. So why don't we just start with quick introductions? Maybe you talk about the organization that you're in and what the role is that you play.
Absolutely. Thank you, Susan. Good afternoon, everyone. So happy to be here talking to you all. I'm Ankitha Garapati, Global Senior Director for Cloud Platform and Engineering, leading the cloud product teams for BCG, Boston Consulting Group. Most of you have heard the name. It's one of the top management consulting firms in the world. And we are a global firm with our offices across 100 cities in 50 countries. And some of our clients really ranked amongst the top 500 largest corporations in the world. BCG, as a company, you all know we are big into management consulting, but we bring this diverse functional and industry expertise and work with leaders across the world, solving some of the most complex business challenges for the organizations and really enabling them to find their greatest opportunities to succeed. And my role in BCG, leading the cloud product teams, we support both our internal BCG IT and our BCGX, which is the technology build and design unit of BCG. And our teams are really focused on digital and cloud transformations. We are building and supporting a really scalable cloud platform and services so we can enable the rest of the BCG to build really secure and scalable cloud services to really provide that exceptional service to the clients.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Ankitha. Mona?
Yeah, so hey everyone, I'm Mona Chadha, and I'm Director of Infrastructure Technology Partnerships at AWS. And so my team's responsible for really helping customers and find innovative solutions with specific partners. And so HashiCorp is one of our partners that that my team manages. And really we're all about building, like I said, holistic solutions that leverage AWS services, native services that we have, as well as third-party ISV solutions, ISV software. And we kind of, I think a lot of people already know AWS in the room, but really one of the key things that we're just really focused on is really helping our customers migrate over to the cloud quicker, faster, and giving them all the cost savings that they need. So super happy to be here and looking forward to the discussion.
Excellent, excellent. I agree. Everybody knows AWS, but I don't know if they know all the types of services
and
things that you do.
There's a lot of them.
Exactly.
Yes, there are a lot of them. We'll get into that later.
A lot to assist our customers. So.
Yes.
All right. So, Ankitha, let's go ahead and start with the broader business journey the broader business objectives that took you on this journey. Some would call it audacious. So why don't we start there?
Yes, I'm always excited to talk about our cloud transformation journey because it was one of the most successful programs in BCG IT last year, which, yes, Susan, it started with a very ambitious goal to move 100% of our internal workloads to the cloud and close all of our on-prem data centers. Even before we started on their journey, there was organic growth in the cloud. Like BCG is always at the forefront of technology. We had cloud growth. Almost 60% of our applications are either already on the cloud or moved to SaaS solutions, and anything new we are building was cloud first. So this was all about that remaining 40% on-prem, which was the tough 40%. They're like really legacy workloads which needed to be moved out of the cloud. And like most transformations, we started with a strong business case for cost savings, reducing our cost by moving out of the on-prem data centers. But that was just part of the value realization. And the real value for us to move to the cloud was really serving our clients at space. Like how can we improve the business agility? How can we increase our operational efficiency, our developer efficiencies, and really be able to get that speed and innovation of being in the cloud? And when we talk about speed, like speed is super critical. And the cost aspect, like when we think of cost and when we are thinking of moving to the cloud, unless we do it really cautiously and strategically, you can actually potentially increase the costs going to the cloud. So it was really important for us to make a thoughtful move to the cloud. How do we optimize our entire footprint as we are moving to the cloud? So it was really about moving this 40% to the cloud, closing our data centers, but most importantly, just continuing on that modernization journey, continuing to build on the modern engineering practices and really get to that end-to-end efficient cloud operating model. So speed and scale, and how do we do it in a secure and cost-effective way?
Yeah, as you say, always cost, speed, and risk, right? And the interesting thing is, and you said, you had to take a thoughtful approach. Yes, you wanted to move fast, but you needed a thoughtful approach because, as you said, cloud can give you all those benefits, but done incorrectly, it can take the risk up, it can take the cost up, and it can slow you down. So let's double click on the speed aspect of it, because when you and I first met and I learned your story, that was one thing that really jumped out at me. So when you talk about speed, why don't you take the audience through a little bit more of your learnings and exactly what you did to make that work?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we are a consulting organization, so speed is super critical for us. But as we look beyond the migrations, the notion of speed, it's not just about being able to deploy faster or being able to provision your infrastructure faster. So it's really about that end-to-end agility across the entire organization, right? How can you really optimize for the longer term? So now you're on cloud, but what is your end game? How can you really operate at scale? How can you support, maintain all of this infrastructure? So the key for that sustained speed was to really build that system, like an ecosystem that not only enables us to rapidly deploy stuff, but also simplifies our operations and any of the day-to stuff. And for us, we were focused a lot on the end-to-end automation, the deployment pipelines, and now we are actually focused a lot more to take it further with the self-service using the HashiCorp cloud platform. But we also had an internal container platform which had an end-to-end security, DevSecOps, all of the BCG tools and processes baked in. So developers don't really have to worry about any of the plumbing behind scenes infrastructure or the security or the networking guardrail. So they're just focused on delivering value. And by having this abstraction and automation in place, it not only helped accelerate the delivery, but also just to maintain that bar of quality, right? So we know for sure everything we are deploying is consistent, secure, and efficient because we are building that, building off of that platform.
Absolutely. So I love hearing, we talk about it all the time, right? So few people think about day two. Mm-hmm. Right, it's all about day zero, get things up and running, but you were so thoughtful in your approach to say, no, we have to make sure we build something that we can then manage at scale, right? So that's such a key to it. So I love it. It's really in line with doing cloud right in our infrastructure lifecycle management and security lifecycle management that we talk about. So, and as we said, we learned all of this from our customers over the years. So you're a perfect example of that. So Mona, as we said a little bit earlier, AWS does a lot to help customers in their journeys in the cloud. And so maybe talk a little bit about the approach that you took with BCG and some of the things that you generally do to help customers. Because what strikes me is that you're very much invested in making sure they get the most out of their investment as quickly as possible.
That's right. Yeah, no, that's an excellent point. And I would say that, what's great with working with customers like BCG is that the mentality and the mental models were all lined up. And I think the key thing that we really focus on is ensuring that the end customer has a strategy, has a thought, like what are their end goals? And so we want to be very thoughtful with them on how to develop that migration strategy. And so really understanding, what is the end goal there? Obviously, everyone wants the speed, the cost savings, the operational efficiency, but how do we really approach it in a way in which we can target specific workloads in the right way? How do we help prioritize? And then finally, also looking at things like, what's in their estate today? And so how can we help them achieve their goals? But then also, how do we help them maybe get the extra bonus, right, of things that they maybe didn't consider? And so what we've developed are specific frameworks that really help identify those specific areas and those specific use cases and workloads that should be migrated to the cloud, and the approach that you should take in order to migrate to the cloud in the most operational efficient, cost savings, getting the right cost savings and reducing the risk and making sure that you do it all in a secure way. So we have a framework called the Cloud Adoption Framework, which, as we were working with BCG, we really work to figure out, well, what does that look like? And it really focuses on 6 key levers, which is your business. What is your business outlook? What does it look like? What is your state? People, do you have the resources and the right skill sets within your teams to actually deliver and migrate over to the cloud? And if not, we supplement with our organization and our teams, as well as we recommend SIs and other third-party software providers to help out with that. Plus, we look at the overall operations to see how are we really going to get that operational efficiency with that migration. You also look at governance. You have to have guardrails, and you mentioned this, Ankitha, as well. You have to have the proper guardrails to make sure that the migration is, staying within the bounds. There's no security risks. Security is obviously really, really critical as you are moving to the cloud. We want to make sure that we never, ever, security is always job zero. So that if there's anything that you leave here with, is that security is job number 1, right? You have to have that embedded in everything that you do. And so with all of that, we look at these different key components and then start to build out a strategy with our end customer and figure out how do we embed that into the overall configuration of how they want to and which workloads they want to migrate over to the cloud. With that, I mentioned security. We have a shared security model with our end customers. So we secure everything that's of the cloud, and then everything else is secured by the end customer. And so with that, a couple things that we've done with our end customers, including BCG, is also recommend other ISVs that help complete that total shared security model story. HashiCorp is a perfect example of an ISV that completes that story, and one that BCG was already working with. So it was great to, blend all of that together. And then, with when we're working with our end customers and we're working on these migration strategies, ultimately we're also keeping track of like a scorecard of how we're doing, and then how's the end customer doing with the migration, so we can kind of follow along with like a total cost of ownership, ROI studies, so that you're really managing to the budget. And then ultimately, in a lot of cases, you get the additional benefits of either migrating faster and quicker, and then reducing that overall operational risk. And then also just achieving all the operational efficiencies that you have, and doing it in a very secure way.
Yeah, and our relationship with AWS has been a true partnership in this journey.
We feel the same. All right, so Ankitha, obviously we'll talk at the end about the results, which are quite impressive, but I know that everybody in this room is on a different phase of their journey, and it would be great for you to take us a little bit through what actually happened. What are the learnings? What would you want the audience to know?
Yeah, honestly, it was a very slow momentum to begin with. We started this journey in 2022, like mid-2022. And like I said, this remaining footprint was the legacy footprint, a lot of point-to-point integrations, really huge monoliths, hard to decouple. And there are some process overheads too along the way. And we quickly realized it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. We just took a step back, really looked at the entire footprint. We looked at all of the workloads that are still on-prem, really diving into the different dispositions. Like we went with the 4 Rs, but really focused on the retires. Like these are legacy workloads. Do we really need to lift and shift? Like we don't want cloud to be another data center, but how do we take this as an opportunity to really optimize your footprint as you're moving to the cloud? So that was a big key point, I would say, and I'll talk about it, how it would relate in the results, but really focusing on the retires, anything that's needed, how can we just remove it from the footprint? And it was challenging. It's not easy. Like these are applications, we don't even have owners, and some of these, like business wasn't sure if we need it, we don't need it, but we push to have those tough conversations, make tough decisions, and anything that's not retiring has to be refactored, which is again challenging. Like it's not easy to decouple these monoliths and modernize them. But we push through, like at least take some of these critical applications that needs to get on the modernization journey. Even if it is a longer tail, that's fine. We will just continue on that path. And the rehost and anything that still has to be lifted and shifted, that's fine, but let's keep that eye on the right sizing as we move. And then we just made sure we created the dispositions for runbooks for all of these dispositions, architecture reviews, security reviews, making sure teams actually do the security testing, pen testing, and all of this. And then, like, as applications started to move again, like slow momentum, we just tried to create that excitement from the first moves, like sharing those success stories, because as much as it's a technology move, it's a cultural shift. So all of this started to create momentum like early 2023, and we started to learn from the early migrations and tweak our process, understand where the gaps are and optimize that, and all of that led to a huge momentum, and we were able to get to 4x the migration in just 2 quarters. Wow. So that was huge, and we finally closed.
That deserves a round of applause, I have to say.
It's an amazing work across the entire team and portfolio. So we finally closed our data centers, and the last one closed January this year. So that was the last data center. So key learnings.
So I mean, they were basically 2 years.
Yeah,
I would. Not even a full year. It was like a quarter ahead of the schedule as well. And there were like a ton of learnings across. But some of the key things that really helped us was just going back and planning at the right level, because even if it took longer for that assessment phase, we just made sure we are planning in the right direction, because we need to understand our workloads, our dependencies, our performance considerations, and pick the right migration strategy that works for us. And then start small and scale. We really learned from those initial non-mission critical workloads that moved, and use those learnings when we got to the really key ones and the critical ones. And like I said, I mean, and automation is our best friend, right? Creating those standardized guardrails processes. So we are just removing the toil, reducing the friction, so developers can work more effectively, more rapidly deploy things. And I mean, it's a cultural shift too. It's not adopting new tools and technologies, but how do we bring people along their journey? How do we change the mindset, change the behaviors, change to new ways of working? So change management was a key thing, and we ensure that we are talking about the successes. We are upskilling the people and just bringing them along the journey. So
100%. And you hit on something there that is really important, which is the cultural aspect. And of course, you're looking at it, and you came from the platform and security side of things. Maybe talk to us a little bit about what was the developer experience in terms of, what the ticketing experience, and where did it come from, where is it now, and how did you get developers to buy in, right? Because generally speaking, they don't like controls. They want to move faster, but it's getting to that point that's hard.
Yeah, so the ticketing system, that's an interesting one. There's a lot of focus on that right now. And not just the developers. Let me give you a little bit more context on the users for our cloud products. And BCG is a multi-cloud. Obviously, we need to cater for clients across different requirements. We need to make sure we are catering across all clouds. So we are multi-cloud, and obviously managing a multi-cloud environment is really challenging, right? If you think about unified observability or consistent security, networking, and how do we really look at the financial management across. So it was really challenging. And on top of that, the speed at which our consulting case teams need infrastructure really demands that scalable multi-cloud setup. And the consulting teams, they're not just developers, right? We have developers, we have data scientists, we have project leads, and we can't expect them to be able to use the Terraform modules or write their own infrastructure code. And at the same time, they cannot just create a ticket and wait for days for somebody to provision that infrastructure, which is sitting in the queue with 100 other tickets for somebody to approve and deploy it. So those were like the really big challenges, and what we are really focused on right now, like my team is working on solving some of those challenges by creating a complete end-to-end self-service model. And that's, we are building that into our internal portal to build those platform capabilities. So end of the day, like all of the security, networking, all the guardrails are built in, and I'm coming in as a case team. I'm just clicking a few buttons, and I have my environment with the right guardrails, already approved patterns, BCG standards all baked in. And if you think of it as there are hundreds of teams deploying infrastructure, thousands of case teams working on provisioning, and being able to enable these teams to get that self-service so they can just single-click deployment to get everything they need in the right guardrails is going to be a game changer for us. So we're really focused on that. In fact, we're just a couple weeks away from building the Azure self-service, and we're really aggressive going into the next year to enable that for all of the clouds.
Sounds amazing. So let's talk a little bit about the results of all of this work. Like there's lots of great results that you have that you can share.
Impressive, for sure, I'd say.
For sure.
So we finished the cloud migration program, and we closed our data center, like I said, early this year, almost a quarter ahead of the schedule. And we were able to get almost 54% cost reduction compared to the workloads that the spend we had on-prem. And that also exceeded the projected business case savings. So we said, like, we're going to get X million dollars in our business case, and what we were able to get to exceeded that savings. And the reason for that, I alluded to a little bit in the beginning, and the reason for that is really focusing on optimizing the footprint, really looking at those retires. We almost retired, I think, 23% of our applications from that roadmap. 45% of the servers never made it to the cloud. We consolidated them or we retired them. And really, like anything else that's moving to the cloud, again, looking at the data, looking at on-prem resource utilization, and right-sizing those servers so we're not just doing a like-for-like on-prem. So focusing on that cost optimization from the get-go, from the design phase, I think really helped us push that envelope. And we kind of integrated Apptio now across all cloud providers. And we could actually, we are continuing to optimize. This whole year was about, even after we finished the migration, we continued on the journey. We further optimized the additional savings on top of it. And that's the cost savings part, right? In addition to cost savings, we were also, we had some key KPIs we are tracking all through the journey, mostly for the modernized apps, like how fast we can deliver our deployment release cycles, application downtimes, our response times, our mean time to detect or recover in the cloud. And all of those KPIs saw like an impressive trend as we modernized and containerized our applications. So I would say it's a huge milestone for us, so it's exciting.
Really, really fantastic results. And you mentioned Apptio. We're super excited about our future with IBM, and obviously Apptio is part of that. But also Michael Wood in his last presentation called out that it was DevSecOps. Now it's DevSecOps plus BizOps plus FinOps plus FinOps, right? And so the FinOps has become such a huge part of this discussion, and it sounds like you guys really built that in from the start as well, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
So, all right, so you're still in the phase of automating. You've got a lot of automation done, but you're still doing more. What's next? What are the big rocks you still need to move right now? We all know it's a life cycle. It's never ending.
It's never ending.
Never ending.
It's always a journey. So in BCG, we have this mission statement, unlocking the potential of people who advance the world. So that's a very powerful statement, right? And for us to just provide that unparalleled value, we need to evolve. We need to continue to evolve, continue to be on top of the technology trends. So like I said, this migration and transformation was a milestone, definitely not the destination. So the journey would continue, the journey towards continued optimization, continued modernization, and more importantly, identifying and further streamlining the processes or making our operating model even more efficient. So all of that will continue. And a lot of focus on self-service, like I said. So we're focusing on building that self-service platform for the case teams to start with, and we want to eventually make that across all our internal IT as well. So we're giving like a unified framework across the organization. You touched on FinOps. FinOps is a really significant focus for us. And especially as we are scaling, FinOps is beyond, cost savings, cost optimizations, it's absolutely needed. But looking at FinOps beyond that, it's almost like changing the culture to build that financial transparency and accountability. How do we make sure the teams are owning their cloud costs? And how do we enable them to make smart decisions at every level, right? And how do we enable the teams to be able to do all of that seamlessly? So that's a big focus for us from the FinOps. And I don't think I can not say GenAI. The GenAI, it's definitely a transformational force right now, and the pace at which it's evolving is just mind-blowing. And we at BCG, we always had been and are at the forefront of the GenAI evolution from the beginning, and there's like some really amazing use cases. BCG is working with our client teams across the world. And internally, we have the same focus. We are making sure GenAI has a significant focus to enable developer productivity or our consultant productivity. And we are trying to build the GenAI capabilities into all of our shared platforms. And we are building the GenAI layer in our platform so we can enable the teams to build their own use cases on top of it. And optimizing, and we need to optimize the infrastructure because GenAI needs a next level of speed and scale and sophistication. So we're looking at how do we optimize our whole platform layer. So there are a lot of initiatives on GenAI in progress right now. So a lot of exciting stuff ahead.
And a lot of costs can be hidden in there if you don't do that one right.
Oh yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely.
So Mona, as we talked about, so AWS has seen so many of these amazing, types of projects, and I've seen your framework evolve over the years. We've, have worked with AWS at the last few companies, and so it'd be great to hear what's next for AWS and what you want the audience to know in terms of what you can help with.
Yeah, that's great, because everyone knows that after the migration, that's where the real work begins. and you know that the migration already took a lot, but now this is where you can innovate much faster. And so I will pick up on the GenAI piece of it. So with AWS, we have this strategy around ensuring that our customers are able to leverage all of the compute power that they need in order to innovate faster with generative AI. And so that's one thing that we have built in terms of our infrastructures to allow things like our chipsets, right, like Trainium and Inferentia, so you can run these models, these large language models, or any foundational models quicker and faster. And then the next layer of that is, there's availability of a bunch of large language models, right? A bunch of these foundational models that span from, you can build your own, and we have tools to help you build that, but you could also take from whatever is available today, whether it's, Anthropic's Cloud or Cohere or Meta. We have the ability through Bedrock to leverage all the different types of models so you can build your applications quicker and faster. And then also leveraging any sort of AI assist that you have. So that's sort of our GenAI strategy and what we're offering. And what we've kind of jointly built with HashiCorp is a strategic collaboration agreement so that all of the end customers, including BCG, can take advantage of all the integrations that HashiCorp will be working on with those integrations with AWS AI services. So that's a huge part of our strategic collaboration agreement, along with those integrations with not just Terraform, right, but also Vault and Boundary and all the different types of solutions and offerings that HashiCorp has. So that's part of it. But the other key thing is you'll be able to take all the innovation that the partnership delivers and leverage through a POC. So we have funding available for our customers to take advantage of proof of concepts. So now you can build faster with all the tooling that we have available, but also through our collaboration agreement, leverage POC funding so that you can, again, test and run faster and then ultimately help you deliver end solutions that help you innovate quicker and faster. So that's a key thing. And then what we've heard a lot from customers is that they want to leverage AWS Marketplace for all the benefits that it delivers on getting access to solutions so that you can build quicker and faster. And then plus you have the added benefit of managing your budget, right? So you're able to, if you have a large PPA or a commitment, which is basically if you're buying AWS services, you may have a private pricing agreement or taking advantage of our enterprise discount program. You can leverage and purchase third-party software that draws down on that PPA commitment. So really helping you on the budgeting and the ROI. And then overall, stay tuned for reInvent. How many of you are going to reInvent our customer event? Great. Right. See a lot of show of hands. Well, guess what? We will be announcing through our partnership with HashiCorp some interesting things there. So lots of integrations and policy as code will be a big talk track there as well. So we're looking forward to that. But we have a lot going on. And like I said, migration is just, after you do the migration, now is time for you to innovate, just like Ankitha is doing with BCG.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, Ankitha and Mona, thank you so much for your time. It's such a fabulous story. Thank you for the partnership. And I know that anytime you talk to customers, or anytime you talk in front of customers, you get mobbed afterwards.
Yes.
Is it okay for people to come up and ask you some individual questions since we ran out of time? All right, excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.